Hi everybody, it's Cindy again from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. Today I have another project that I thought I would share with you, and I think it's a lot of fun, it's easy, and if you haven't tried this kind of journal before, I think you'll really enjoy it. And what I'm making today is a tag journal, and there are a number of different types of journals that I've seen people call tag journals, and one of them is like an accordion journal where people take tags and join them together and fold them over in the accordion style, and they have like a half dozen or so tags that are folded together. And what I'm doing today is a bunch of tags that I'll put together on a large ring. Hopefully this will be big enough because my tags are going to be embellished and will get kind of big. And what I'm doing is using these large tags that are about 8 inches, 8 inches by 4. I have a couple that are a little shorter just for some visual interest, a little bit of change so they're not all identical. I've got some flips and things that I want to do, and by the time I'm done I should have 10, 12 tags maybe that will go on the ring and we'll make a journal. And so I thought that's what we would do today, and I'm using my Edith Holden again, and since that is my plan for the summer, to use up Edith Holden books. And on my last video I showed I had quite a stack, like 5 different books, and I was organizing and cleaning my craft room last week, or earlier this week, beginning of the week, and found another one. So yeah, I've got a bunch, and so I need to use these up. And so I've already cut or torn a few pages out of a journal, and what I want to do is the cover, I think. And for the cover, let me put this to the side. I have a few things that I have already kind of gathered together. I want to put a book plate, and I've taken her name off of the cover of one of the books, and some lace I thought I would put on the side, going down the side, and we'll see. I've got a pile off to the side here. You don't need to see this pile of scraps that I've been using and accumulating. But for the cover, I thought I would cover the back with this poem, or let's see, there was a Robert Burns one that I thought I had grabbed. Nope, I thought I did. I thought I had a Robert Burns poem. And so I think I'm going to put this on the back, and let's see where we go from here. One nice thing with the tag journals is that they can be any size you want them to be. They could be of any material, any style that you feel like doing. The sky really is the limit when it comes to this kind of journal. They can be as big or as small as you want them to be. And sorry, I'm holding it up to the light. I want to make sure that I am going in a straight line. Looks fairly straight. And I'm just going to use my scissors instead of the paper cutter. So on each of the tags that I'm going to make, and I've already made a few, I always make sure that there is a place to write, and because after all it's a journal, but I want it to be embellished as well. So it is not my style. I know there are people who have very elaborate styles where they have layers and layers of lace and three-dimensional things and things dripping off of stuff, and that's just not my style, especially for this kind of journal, because how can you write on it if the paper is lumpy because of things that are attached or embellished on the other side? So I'm keeping it fairly layered, but not bulky is my plan. And as you maybe noticed, there aren't any holes up here, and I am going to be putting it through a ring, but I'm going to do that last, and I'm going to do them all at one time because I'm going to put grommets, use grommets. So I need to get out the hammer and that. So for the back, I thought I would start with that, but I also had, when I was cleaning and purging and organizing my craft room, I had some library books that were destashed from the library, the school I work, and they had their card catalog pockets in them, and so I carefully took them out, and so I could reuse them. And I have a couple, now that I'm thinking about it. This might not be the best size. This one, I had a little trouble with this one, and it kind of but maybe I'll go with a smaller pocket instead of this big one. And I do want to take as much of the paper off of here as possible to help keep the bulk down. So I like that one. I like that one better. The other one was shorter, but it was just, I don't know, I just didn't like it. It was kind of bugging me. I don't know if you have a library close to where you live or work, but the library is such a good resource for books. If you are looking for books that you can repurpose the covers, or if you're looking for book pages or books with lots of pictures that you can use. My local library has a book sale every Friday, not every Friday, one Friday a month. I meant to say month. Every month they have a book sale, and yeah, they have all sorts of books, from children's books to botanicals to old dictionaries and atlases and whatnot. And if you are looking for anything to use in your junk journals, they are a great resource. And I'm an English teacher, so I love books. Books literally are my favorite thing. And I have tons of books that I would never consider taking apart for a junk journal. And not even ones that are particularly expensive or anything, but ones that I've annotated as I've read, and ones that were gifts and that I would not. But I talked to the librarian. I'm like, I feel kind of bad that I'm taking these books because the ones that I got from my school library were free. They always have a rolly cart by the front entrance of our school library that has free books. And the librarian is like, nope, we would rather them be used, be repurposed, than have to recycle them or have them wind up in a landfill. And so that has taken off some of the stress for me of using library books for this purpose. Okay, I'm going to make a tag to go inside. And so I'm going to have a tag on a tag, and that will be on the back. And so this will be my front cover. And I've been kind of leaning towards these thistles and bees because I love this picture so much. And I'll probably use the one on this side simply because the picture is a little bigger, and then maybe we'll use this one for the tag to go back here. And I want to make sure that I get the right size. So I will use the paper cutter on this one. That got a little raggedy right there. I was so close to the edge. And all right, that's so pretty. I just love this picture. There's so many beautiful pictures in the Edith Holden books. And I do have an Edith Holden book that I've never touched. It's in my personal library, so this is not me using up. I talk about loving the pages and then I shred them. I do have a copy in my personal library that I won't be using for junk journaling. I just recently come across this one on eBay, I think, and I paid less than $10 for it. So I think this will be the background then for my cover. It's hard, isn't it? Isn't it hard with these, I guess with any books that have pictures or beautiful script on two sides, like which one do I use? Because this is just lovely too, but those thistles, yummy. I've always loved those purple thistles. But I recently discovered that I'm part Scottish, which was news to me. I thought I was, on my mom's side, I thought I was Irish and British, and found out I'm Irish, British, and Scottish. And so Those purple thistles are such a symbol of Scotland that I love them all the more for that. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of lace just going down the side here, and I'm going to trim this just a little bit. I'm going to sew around the edges and make sure that I sew around that lace too, but I'm going to put a bead of glue on here first to make sure that when I'm sewing the lace it doesn't, slide all over. I hope everybody's doing well. I saw that there were terrible thunderstorms in the Midwest last night. My brother-in-law was camping and a tree fell on their tent. Luckily the storm had been bad enough that they gave up the tent and wound up in their truck. I'm not sure if my sister was, not my sister Betsy, another one of our sisters. Neither Betsy nor I would probably be caught camping in a tent, to be honest. Not quite our scene. So a little bit of lace. I do want to put this on the cover, but I don't know if there's enough of this. Well, those purples don't really go together very well, do they? Oh boy. And this isn't quite big enough. Just the remnants of a gorgeous paper my sister Betsy made. She makes the most beautiful coffee stain paper you've ever seen, that we sell in our shop. And she was experimenting with making sheets of with other dyes. And she sent me this green. Green's my favorite color. So I hoarded this for a long time, finally decided to use it. But it's not quite big enough for this. I was thinking maybe of I've got this other little purple piece, irises, but I don't know if there's anything else I want to put on the cover. Like I said, I'm trying to keep things fairly simple just so that the journal doesn't get, too bulky. I got a little bit of glue on the side right here. And grab my glue eraser. If you're a paper crafter and you don't have a glue eraser, I highly recommend it. They're not expensive. They're, $1.39 at, lots of places have them. Amazon, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, probably even Staples and places like that. Yeah, I think that's all that needs. Nothing too elaborate. Just using my awl to punch a hole in here so I can add some brads. And on the other side. I usually just use the back of the end of the awl because mine is flat. So I like to push the brads down as flat as possible. And I'm going to sew around the edges, so I'll put this down here on the bottom after I've sewn around the edge. Otherwise it's going to just go right over there. I don't think I want that. So it's kind of plain on the front. After I'm done with the sewing, maybe I'll change my mind, but for the back here, I have I thought I had a piece of file folder. That's what I've been using for all, that's what the base of the card was file folder. And this is the perfect size to use for this tag with this tag within on the tag. And I think I'm going to cut off the bottom here and then collage it back on. To take off just a scant. You can see my very scientific method for measuring, right? Actually, a little bit more. I can't have that. I gotta cut off this top because if it goes up too high, that's where the ring's going to be, right? So you need to make sure that those rings are not impeded. So that should be about perfect. Check that, yep, because then I'll put the ring right there, or grommet right there. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac. It's not the only glue I use, but it is my favorite. And I am not going right to the edge because I'm going to sew around the edges. And I'm going to round my corners. To I'm not sure if this is the creeping plume thistle, or which I think it was, right? And the cotton thistle was on the other side. You don't need a lot of, in my opinion, you don't need a lot of elaborate collaging or layering sometimes. Sometimes you just need a touch of a little something. You know, you don't want to take away from the pictures either by having too much. That's just, and that is just my opinion. If you like lots of layers and dangly things and drippy things and three-dimensional and lots of lace and ribbons and things, if that's your style, then go for it. This is just my style. I like vintage, layered but fairly clean, because I like to make sure that everything is, you can write on everything. If it's too bulky on the other side, you can't write. And on everything so far, I've been, which I should have done this first, I wasn't thinking. I've been putting coffee stained paper on the back of everything, and so I'm going to be consistent and do that on here as well. And before I sew, I'm going to do that. And with this kind of journal, with any of the tags, you can do anything on those tags that you can on a page to make them interesting, to make them more, more places to write. Or, some people use their junk journals not to write, but for art, for collaging, and have them as art journals instead of writing journals. Any place you can do any of that, you can do on this kind of journal as well, and I'll show you in just a minute. So once I sew everything up, this will go in the pocket, and I think this needs a little bit of embellishment. And I took this out of the front of the book. And was thinking of putting it here on the pocket of this library pocket. And maybe for a little contrast, I'll go with another scrap of this so that it's consistent with what's on the other side. And make sure we've got some contrast there. And ink the edges, give it a little bit of that vintage vibe. Okay. That's a nice shot of glue. I'm not going to sew around, obviously. I'm not going to sew around the edge of this one. I'm just going to slap it on here. Okay. And let's see. I was thinking here, maybe I will put a little something up in the corner. I've got a pile of charms and things that I have I grabbed thinking I'll use them in this journal. And so you can do things like, you could just leave that. You could put a piece of ribbon in there, a charm, and it adds another layer of visual interest, but it doesn't add bulk, right? And I think that's important, to not let things get too bulky in your journals, because in your books don't lay flat and it's harder to write. But I don't think you should scrimp on visual interest. I think things need to be interesting to look at. I may take that out, I don't know. Obviously I'm going to take it out now because I still have to sew, right? And I feel like I need something here, something purple. See if I have any purple. Or another bee, but I don't want to take that out of the middle of that page. Let's see. Let me grab my book. Maybe I can find a little purple something. Maybe just this little flower right there, because the back of the page is already been compromised. Like I said, I hope everybody's doing well, that the weather is behaving itself where you are here. Where I am, it is hotter than blazes. My watch is saying it's 86 degrees. I don't believe it. I think it's hotter than that. I might be 86 degrees above average myself. It is hot today. And I think I'll put that right there. I think that adds just the right touch. And I don't know, this is kind of looking a little plain. But it's the cover of the book. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to go ahead and sew around the edges here, and I'll be back in 2 shakes, and we'll finish this up, and then I'll show you some of the other ones that I have done, and we'll wrap it up for today. But I'll be right back. All right, so I just sewed around the edges on both of these. I'm leaving all the threads because it's kind of the vibe I'm going for with this one. And I think this page looks really good. And then there's the front. My plan is to put that there. I think I will. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and do it. And then I'm going to set it aside. I might just leave it because it actually is not, I think it's simple and there's nothing wrong with that. So, but I might change my mind. I might have the perfect thing to add. I have this key that I was thinking of putting on the front. I was thinking maybe with a ribbon, attaching it with just a ribbon right here, and that would be all it needs, I think. So that's the cover. And off camera, I made a few more tags that are fairly simple. I've put lace on the other side, so you know when they're stacked, you've got lace on both sides. So if that's the cover, then here is another page, and on the back, just a little bit of collaging, but I've left it mostly blank for journaling. The same with this one. Little collage on the back. This one is more elaborate. It has a pocket in the front with a card that is blank on the back for, this was actually a page from one of my Edith Holden books that was lined, so I put that on there. The inside has a pocket with another tag with just a light collaging on it. A notebook with all different scrap papers. And then the back is a place for journaling, and it doesn't really need a clip, but I put a clip on here. Anyway, here's a tag. This one's a little shorter, but it's got a tab on the side and a pocket with another little tag that you can journal on the back of that and on the back. This one is another simple one with just a tab on the side and a charm. And the back has just that little bit of collaging. Another tag within a tag, a pocket. The pocket's big enough, I might add something else, I don't know. This has some vintage rickrack. This is vintage, this is not. This is vintage though. And then a little collaging on the back. So this is what I have done so far. And I think it's looking pretty good. And so here's the ring. I have to make sure it doesn't get too big, but I've already have plans for a few more tags, and I would like at least 10, but I have 5 more cut out that I haven't used yet. Or I take that back, 6 more, because this one I've already backed with coffee stained paper. So I'm gonna have to get on the ball and try to get these finished. So thanks for joining me today. We didn't get a lot done. We just made 1 tag and a card with a pocket, but for this project I think it's looking pretty good. So thanks for joining me today. If you've not already subscribed, please do so, and if you'd like to receive notifications, click on the bell. We appreciate our subscribers so much, and I appreciate you, and appreciate the fact you have joined me today for this video. Somebody just knocked on my door, so it's obviously time for me to go. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.